Welcome back, everybody. I'm Stefan ADIKA. Before we get started, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Tonight, we're going to talk to Lawrence Gowan of STYX. He's going to talk about what he's doing now. STYX is on the road right now. All information will be down below in our description. And we're going to go over a couple of things. His connection with John Lennon and recording his 1985 album, Strange Animal. Also, legendary Johnny Johnson he got to play with, who was Chuck Berry's piano player. And we'll talk about the late, great Ronnie Hawkins, and other great stories. You're not going to want to miss this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Lawrence Gowan.
Hey, Stefan, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How about you? Look at this. Bam. Look at that. Lawrence Gowan of STYX in the house right now. And I figured, you know what? We just go live, and then I'll edit this out afterwards with the people.
One second, Stefan. Yeah. The spelling of my last name is Gowan.
Oh,
did I get it wrong?
That's okay.
You know what? I'm from Brooklyn. This is what I did. I did wrong. Let me hurry. A-N. Wow. Well, let's just end the interview. I'm over and done with now. You know, it's a complete disaster. All righty. Well, thank you for being here, man. Thank you very much.
Great to see you again. Yeah.
We had a great conversation. We were getting deep about stuff.
Yeah. Where did we leave off anyway?
God, we're talking about, you know what, the John Lennon estate that you recorded.
Oh, yeah.
Criminal Minds and all that. And we'll talk about that. You had a gig last night?
We played last night, yes, in Indianapolis. And tonight we're playing here in Cincinnati. As you can see, I'm staying under a bridge.
I thought it was your stage production. I thought maybe you brought a bed to the stage. That's that's what it looks like, man. You know,
it's become much more sedate. Yeah, there's a little nap break in the middle of them. No, it's just this hotel room. It's like, look at this whole.
Let me see what you got going on there.
It's
the Brooklyn Bridge. It looks like.
It's not well, I don't know if the Brooklyn Bridge is a Roebling Bridge, but there's a man named Roebling, Roebling. He built these bridges back in the 1800s, I'm guessing, and there's one just out the window there here in Cincinnati. I can show it to you if you like.
So wait a second, you went down in the history books on this. You went deep over here about the bridge.
I love traveling in America and discover. Here, hang on, I'm going to show you.
Show us.
Okay. So
show us. Thank you, Danny.
See it out there?
Oh yeah.
That's a Roebling Bridge. It's one of these amazing suspension type bridges. I hope I'm giving you a good camera.
Yeah.
Cincinnati over there. And yeah, I got up, came here in the middle of the night, of course, as we normally do. And artwork here behind the bed. And I had a wonderful dream about, I met a troll and he asked me 3 questions and he let me cross the bridge.
So your show went great last night, huh? Good. You're out with Loverboy, REO Speedwagon, correct?
Yeah. To say it went great is an understatement. Quite frankly, there were 16,000 people there. There was not, and it was raining, and none of them left. Amazing. I mean, the devotion that people have had to these shows is just phenomenal. You know, the night before we were in Indianapolis. The night before that we were in Detroit again, fully like jammed.
Yeah.
After that we were in St. Louis, 19,000 people, biggest audience we've ever had in St. Louis.
Wow.
Really staggering, quite honestly, and just such the atmosphere that's being created in these shows is so. It's the vitality of people coming back to their concerts is really.
You know, it's funny that you say that because last night I drove 2 hours. My friend is the backup singer, Sharon Solani, for Stevie Nicks, and I went. And you know what it's like to get tickets when you're giving tickets out to guests. I was not going to go, and it's raining in Washington, so it was like a 2-hour drive. And then she's like, I really have to speak to my tour manager, pull some strings. I go, Sharon, I'm going. And I ended up not only going by support Stevie Nicks, she has great merch and really cool. These hoodies. Right. I never buy merch, but the show is so magical.
Yeah.
And it was raining, pouring. Yeah. And the audience, it's like a religious experience. I think they've been locked up
it's
too long.
The closest thing in our life. A great rock show is the most soul-lifting experience that I've experienced in my life. It really is, and I can't recommend it high enough. You know, I mean, and I know exactly how you feel. I know that, for example, the last show I went to before the pandemic was Elton John, and it's funny because even in Toronto, he was playing Toronto. I was kind of reluctant. I don't know why, to go and see the show because I've seen him so many times, etc.
Mhm.
The moment I got there and he hit the very first chord of the show was Benny and the Jets. The moment he hit that chord, I was like, what was I thinking? This is the greatest place on earth right now. And who would want to be anywhere but here? For the next 2 hours plus, it was magical. And then after the pandemic and after we'd played a bunch of shows with STYX, the first concert I got an opportunity to go to was Genesis. And
Oh, wow.
again, I had these silly little nagging things in my head of like, oh, but Phil Collins is not going to be playing the drums. I want to keep that memory alive of watching him play. Wringing my hands, like, should I? And I went to the show. It might have been the greatest Genesis show I've ever seen. It might have been the greatest. He embodied so many of the lyrics of their songs. He now personifies. He had to sit down and sing these songs. His son is right behind him, nailing the drum parts, like just nailing them, putting a whole youthful vitality into the songs again. And again, I felt like no wonder people love this so much. It's like it's not just me, and I can say at a STYX show, as I look across the stage at the other guys, I'm sometimes as entertained as the person in the front row.
Yeah.
I'm in a better seat.
So you guys, are you getting crazy with Loverboy? Is Mike watching you at the side of the stage, giving you stink eye? What's going on?
No, you're right. He's giving me. I don't know if it's the stink eye. He's giving me the Reno eye.
The Reno eye.
Yeah. So he sounds so good right now. Their band they set the bar pretty high every single night. So whoever, either us or Ario, whoever has to follow them, you got to be on your game. Loverboy are so good. They grab the audience, and people know those songs so well. And I'm so happy to see that they're still, thriving and playing and leaning into it to the degree that they are every night.
And that lineup is great. Loverboy, Ario, and then you guys come.
Well, you're getting over 4 hours of classic rock. You're so familiar with these songs and with these bands, and you've probably got great life experiences with them that are reawakened the moment you start to see us play live. And I think it's you and I are obviously true disciples of it, and I see thousands of people every night that feel the same way.
Yeah. Except if I spell your name right, and it'll be perfect. It'd be the perfect interview.
Everything.
You can't do anything. So the last time you were here, which the internet was not on our side, we were talking about your album, Strange Animal. We were talking about that, and I don't want to take away from what you guys are doing now, on the tour that you're doing, and everybody go out there. I'll put links below in the description, click on it and find STYX where they're playing. You'll see a great show. And because these shows that are out there right now with bands like with STYX, Ario, and all these people out there, Loverboy, this is the music that's never going to get back again. This is the time now to see these guys, in their prime. You guys are sounding better than ever. I stalk you on YouTube, Lawrence. Don't get wild and crazy with me. But now I'm a Beatle goofball. at least out of all these YouTube podcasts you do, I'm the funniest one. I don't do a long intro and tell you your life story. I've seen some of these guys out there, what they're doing. Stop. If you don't know who you are, and if you don't know what they're watching, get the hell out of here. Now listen.
Are there other choices on the internet? I think this might be the only show.
I think I'm the only one out there. In my mind, I'm big and famous. My wife tells me. So now I got to know about Tittenhurst Park in England, because for you guys out there that don't know this and have seen some of this, that was John Lennon's home where he recorded Imagine. And this gentleman right here, Mr. Gowan, got to record his album Strange Animal, and Ringo was living there. We were talking about this.
Yeah.
Let me geek out again. Can we go down memory lane again?
I love talking about this.
Yeah. This is great. And I had some pictures pulled up here, because if people don't notice, the Hey Jude album cover, that was originally where the Beatles, they did their magic there. That was the backside right here.
There you go. Yeah.
That's the home, right?
That's Tittenhurst Park there, right in that front room, kind of more or less behind where George is standing,
Yeah.
That's where they shot the Imagine video in
Oh,
there.
that's the
But
window.
the studio itself is more off to the side that Ringo is standing on. So just basically to his right, there was an extended room there, that was the studio, and that's directly connected to the kitchen. And so the kitchen door was like, just maybe 15 feet away from the actual control room. And so they would hear us making the record. And it was a great moment where every few days, Ringo would come into the studio, and these are great photos you're showing.
Yeah, they're
And,
great.
he'd come into the studio, make some really encouraging comment about one thing or another. Yes, I'm glad you got that picture. Yeah. God, it's amazing to even look at that, because it really seems extremely recent.
Look at you right there, huh? The cool leather jacket, but you're standing right over there, right where the Beatles.
Pretty much the same spot. That's
Same
right.
spot.
Yeah.
That's right.
And what's really remarkable is, I don't know if the house has stood up so well, but I look the same today.
You know how you look at you. You do look the same. What do you do? Look at this.
I don't think so, but okay, sure.
Hey, let me hold on. I like your
Put
hair.
that filter on my face.
No, the hair.
Put 2 filters on.
You do the salt and pepper look. It looks good. You don't look like like some of these guys out there. They look. They don't. You work out. I know you do. And the hair. You take care of yourself. Do you have a designer, or your wife is helping you dress?
First of all, I love how you lowered your voice. Like, you can't really hear us talking. This is the type of thing that we're going to keep just between you and I.
Between you and I.
I find, I do consult. I do consult a few people that whose judgment I trust before I go and make a fool of myself. Yeah, no, it's not a bad idea to ask someone, someone that you think dresses okay. How does this look? Is this okay?
Look, the ladies love you out here. Look, Debbie says, look, love these pics. Look at this. You're getting the hearts. Look at that. Look at sweet pics, 7-7 Danny. The women out there. How's your wife handle this? Huh?
She's
The whisper voice.
I don't know. First of all, I'm very lucky in that department.
You are lucky. Now let's get back to the story. Look right here. Here's another great picture right there. Look.
There it is. Yes, that's in front of. Remember, we were talking about. We called it the temple. It's actually, we don't even know what this was, but in the 1800s, when this place was built, this was perhaps where we speculated this could be where they kept their artwork or something of that nature. But in that room, and I can't really see through the. If you look to my left, yeah,
I see like a box of something there.
Box of something there. Okay, so in there, I didn't take a whole lot of pictures inside, etc. And this one I think was taken by the producer or by his cousin Andy. And anyway, in there were all of Ringo's old artifacts from the Beatle years. I saw all the collarless suits and Sergeant Pepper outfit, and there were some like his kits of drums. I recognized every kit stacked up, all these Ludwig, kits of drums, etc. And they were storage, but in the moment we had a job to do, which was we put Jerry Murata's drums in there and recorded, because it had a great ambience in there. And God, now that I think about it, when we wanted the mics to sound a little bit closer, mic sounding, we'd move some of the clothes a little bit closer on the clothing rack. Just move the whole rack over. Just a little
That's funny.
But what was on that rack these are historical pieces of, pretty priceless. But at that time, in 1984, Ringo would only have been about, like 44 years old. So I think he was, very much still a young man looking ahead to what future projects he was going to do. And this was kind of the old stuff that he was just kind of hanging on to for whatever reason back then. And I heard that subsequently, years later, he became one of the biggest Beatle fans in the world and was much more careful with his things. I remember one day I asked his assistant, I don't know if you have this shot, Mike O'Donnell asked, where this is before I saw the kit stacked up in the room there. I said, doesn't he have the Beatle kit set up with the drum head on it and the whole thing? I'm thinking it's like, but no, not at that time. He was actually moving on to doing his Thomas the Tank Engine as the Mr. Conductor. In fact, he started that while we were there at the studio. But Mike says, I'll ask him whether he's got the drum head around here. He's got the drum head around here somewhere. And he brought out the Beatle drum head. He said, yeah, it was in the front closet, like behind a bunch of shoes and stuff. And it was the holy grail of drum heads, let's face it.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll really geek out on you. This is how holy grail it was. When I looked at it up close, there's a great shot of me holding it. I don't know if you have that one, but
I don't have it.
yeah.
I got to. I'm going to put overlays over here.
Somewhere in my computer here, I'll find it. But the drum head really up close, I could see where the original artist who had come up with the logo, I suppose, had a different logo there in pencil behind it. They obviously started that way and went, that's not quite it. Try something else. And to see that, that's not captured in the photo, but to see how he penciled in this other thing, it was almost like looking at a canvas of, I'll go extreme here. It'll be almost like looking at the Mona Lisa up close and going, oh look, he actually had her with with her teeth out at first, and then he decided, let's go with this kind of smile. It was the nuance of that was astounding, and then to have the actual man walk in the room and make some kind of crack. He had a great sense of humor about all kinds of things.
That's what I'm geeking out now because I'm imagining it. So can you see where the markings were? Where he erased it and then he's like fixed it up? He did it with a pencil?
I don't even know who the artist was, but yeah, you could actually see where he'd taken the eraser.
That's wild.
No, not that. And come up with the logo that we know so well.
So the original, it's all by hand. It wasn't like some, it looked like it was by hand.
Yeah, it looked very much like it was by hand. To my eye, it looked very much by hand. I don't think it was. I think he came up with shaping it and then kind of maybe even stenciling it or something of that nature. But really.
What a great, an interesting thought. Like who did the long T? Because before that drum, the long T, because before that there was another Beatle, almost like in a cursive writing. Remember that one?
I do remember that one. I remember there was even one. I can't remember if it was the Silver Beatles, but there was one that had little, bug antenna coming out of it.
Yes, I remember that.
They were really good at spotting what would not age well. They were they were good at a lot of things, that band.
Are you kidding? Now, so you're over here recording this great record and of yours, and you have Ringo walking around, a gentleman with his coffee or his tea in the morning, I would say, right? Whatever he's drinking.
I don't know what was in that mug, but
but he's out there, don't play after 10. What's that whole scene like?
8 p.m. 8 p.m. We had to knock it off then. Okay, I'll tell you a quick little story there. Quite often in the studio, there are long pauses where you'll either go out for a little stroll, or they're working on some technical aspect of it that I'm really of no use to, of no assistance. So I'd be reading a book. I was reading a lot of Herman Hesse books back then. And anyway, I think I mentioned this earlier, but Ringo had he had dogs loose on the property. Security dogs. One in particular was Leo. He was a German Shepherd who was not very friendly to Canadians, which anyone that wasn't of the immediate family, let's put it that way. And no matter how much he tried to coerce this dog, he was far too well trained. Anyway, Leo, there was a pub next door. You had to call and say, okay, we're here now, usually around noon, just before noon. We're here now. Call Leo in. Apparently, just before I arrived, there were 3 dogs, but they were down to one main one, and he put it that way, Leo. And so, okay, Leo, get him in his pen. Mike, his assistant, would do it. Anyway, you couldn't just walk out of the studio if Leo was roaming the grounds loose, And there were plenty of signs saying to people, don't come on this property. You're not welcome here, et cetera, like that, just basically trying to draw a line. And if you think of the historical fact that it was 1984, you can think of all kinds of reasons why security was
right after 1980
high significance. Anyway, so where am I going with this? Yes, one night it's getting towards 8 o'clock, so it's the end. It's the end of the day, and we're kind of winding down. And suddenly, I wonder if you'd ever remember this. I doubt it. But suddenly, I'm standing outside the studio reading, just kind of reading a book, listening to what's going on, or working on a tape machine or something. And suddenly the kitchen door opens and Ringo comes in, and he's kind of, I think he was in his jammies actually, you know, they're like nice looking, but he comes in and he looks really concerned. And he goes, "Are you all right, pal?" He comes up to me and says that. And I said, "Yeah, why? What's up?" He goes, "I just saw someone, I saw Leo tear across the yard. And I thought I saw someone kind of disappear into there's an area called the Wibbly Wobbly Way. It's great whimsical walkway. It was something about Lewis Carroll or something."
Yeah.
And he thought it was me, that I just wandered out onto the grounds at night, and that the dog was having me for dinner. And it was just a great moment, because I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, God, thank you for your concern.
Right? God, that is, yeah, you know, think about it. 1980, Lennon was assassinated, and then it's only 4 years. And so picture the nightmares he's having. Can it happen to me? I mean,
Well, I don't, yeah, I mean, there was definitely a concern about trying to live, you know, a relaxed and you know, quote unquote, normal life, and having this legacy behind you that was going to be part of your daily existence, and how people can infiltrate on that and
yeah.
intrude upon that in dangerous ways, obviously.
And but you also on that album, and you were talking about it the last time you hear, the great bassist Tony Levin played bass on this record, who's amazing, part of the Double Fantasy legacy with Lennon.
That's right. Yeah, I would ask him quite a few questions about that. I still do.
Do you really? You keep a good relationship with Tony?
Oh yeah. I saw him with King Crimson just a couple of months, just a few months before the pandemic, before I saw Elton, a couple of months before that in Toronto. And as great as ever, Tony is. And yeah, what a phenomenal musician, and just his choice of things to play on the songs was just, it's great. I mean, the Strange Animal record, I'm about to play it pretty much in its entirety at the end of this month. I go.
Are you doing?
We do
Okay.
three when STYX take a little break, I go and do these Gowan shows in Canada, and we're playing Regina, Calgary, and Winnipeg, and then we go and play Peterborough, Ontario. So we do 4 shows with a full band, and most of the show is still the Strange Animal record is one of the main focus of those shows, because the songs and the album has stood up. A Criminal Mind, which is a song that STYX play as well. It recently, it was a gold single, but it recently passed. Yeah, there you go. It's a platinum single now, so it's continued to sell.
Yeah.
And people discover it over the years, and you know, I love, that's one of the aspects of social media that I love being in STYX, is people do discover that I had this previous life where there are albums and a whole musical story that preceded it, as you're pointing out right now.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going down the rabbit hole, how one avenue is leading us to from being on tour right now with STYX, from recording at Lennon's estate, and now this Criminal Mind, which was the album in 85. It was a Strange Animal.
Yeah.
But Criminal Mind was a wild video. So anybody out there watching, if it's your first time hearing about this, Google it, because the video is really cool. But it was
it's very, very 80s, but it was
it was
the
cool.
first one to use that rotoscope.
Dramatic. It was like
that rotoscope technique where I turn into a cartoon character. That is the first video that used that, despite what it says on AHA's Wikipedia page.
But you guys were a big hit out there, because the States. The problem was you weren't getting out here to push here, but you guys were doing tours.
I can't remember if we discussed that before, Stefan, but the way the music industry was, like you and I right now, this is a worldwide broadcast. Really, anyone can watch this.
Yeah.
Right? That's not the way the major labels, Columbia and Capitol and Warner Brothers and A&M, those are the big 4. Oh, here's a nice message. I saw the original Strange Animal on tour in St. John's, Newfoundland. Yeah, great. Thank you very much, poor trout.
That's right. Very nice.
So,
very nice.
Anyway, the major labels would quite often divide up the world as to who got an American release and who got British release, and there were artists that were relegated to one part of the world. You could be a huge artist in Germany and people don't know you in America, and even British artists, or some bands in Britain that could play stadiums and weren't heard of in Canada or America. And for me, with CBS Records, it was a frustration that no matter how well my records did in Canada, it just didn't seem that they wanted to release them in the US. They controlled the market. Anyway, this is very boring, but it's
not. No, it's very interesting.
It's the reality of what the music industry was then compared to now, where everyone gets a worldwide release. You and I can record a song right now on this thing and go send, and everyone can hear it. That was not the case. I did sell quite well in certain cities in America on import. You know, they'd have an import section, and some radio stations, WMMS in I think that's the one in Cleveland, and WDVE in Pittsburgh, and a station in Buffalo, I should know offhand. They were very supportive. And so when I did a tour where I opened for Tears for Fears in those cities, people recognized the stuff, and you know, A Criminal Mind actually was in the top 20 in Cleveland, to where I returned that year in '85 and opened for Foreigner on Foreigner 4.
Wow.
Them at the Richview Coliseum, and it was encores and everything. And I remember the local CBS rep going, I don't understand why we're not promoting this record in America. And later I began to realize that part of the business of the music side of things was to control the market and not flood it with too much material, you know, because then you're not going to be able to make the profits. Anyway, as I said before, people are falling asleep to this at this point. Anyway,
no, it's your life, and it's the frustration of being an artist who has this great material. It's like, why?
I don't want to. Here's the other side of that. It's not the worst complaint to have about your life. It's just it's the way it went. And my career in Canada was really fantastic. I would go from coast to coast, from St. John's, Newfoundland, who we just saw a message from, all the way to Victoria, BC, and that was a wonderful way to spend my life, is crossing the country over and over and over. And then in the 90s, I expanded that a little bit, because being born in Scotland, I still had my British passport, so I could go and work in England. And I began to play a lot of pubs and basically start to build my career there. I did an entire tour of Britain where I opened for the Stranglers. And that's one of my greatest musical memories. It was like 28 dates just throughout the UK. Myself just on solo piano, and that band was, you know, what a devoted audience they had there, you know, and, you know, so I expanded a little bit, but then when STYX happened, I suddenly was in the American market most of the year now in America, and loving it, and playing with this legendary band of guys that I enjoyed playing with them last night on stage as much as I did in my very first show 23 years ago.
You know, I seen you guys play a while ago, and we talked about it. I went with my buddy Eric Singer, my friend, and and I think it was at Universal, and I think they switched theaters, like it went away. I'm not sure. We talked about it, and it was a great package show. I remember you might have been out there with REO. I mean, I think it might have been, and I remember seeing, that was my first STYX concert, and I was like, these guys are great, because Eric is friends with Ricky, your bass player, Ricky Phillips, and it was great. I had a great time, and the music was just,
remember what year that might have been?
It was definitely over 10 years. It had to be over 10 years ago, because I was still living in Burbank at the time before I left to go to Central Coast, California.
Because since we're in the name dropping,
let's name drop. Hey, pick up that name.
I remember one of the first shows I played at Universal with STYX. I had a phenomenal experience, and it was that, you know, I'm on the spinning keyboard that I use, and right in the first row, right in front of me, and standing, because the audience is usually standing up by at least, you know, for the last half of the show, if not more, was Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees.
Wow.
And looking at him, I'm just thinking, oh man, I watched the Monkey every episode. I watched it. And even he came backstage afterward, and I thought I'd be clever. I told him that my aunt from Scotland, my Auntie May, she brought me a book when I was a little kid, when she came over for a visit to Canada, and she brought me a book called Circus Boy. And it was Mickey Dolenz, blonde-haired Mickey Dolenz on the cover. And I told her, you know, the first book I ever read was Circus Boy, and you were on the cover. He wasn't overly surprised. He wasn't.
You know.
Well, you know.
But you could see, here you are doing your show, you know, you're out there, you're standing, dramatic, singing all these great songs, and Mickey's watching. You figured, I got the license right now to talk to the guy, and then it goes wonk wonk. It's all of a sudden.
Well, because I Yeah, exactly. Bomb. What do they say? Yeah, I fanboyed out. That was it. I fanboyed.
It's okay to fanboy out. You know
Oh,
what?
yeah, sometimes you can't help it.
Um,
So,
I
so
did the same thing. I did the same thing with,
but you
yeah.
know something, a great thing that I'm really, really appreciative of is last year, one night, it was one of the last, it might have been the last show they did. And Mickey and Mike Nesmith did a show from the Greek Theater where we've played often now in Los Angeles, at least 3 or 4 times. And I got to watch that because it was streamed. Someone was streaming it.
Oh, wow.
And oh my God, because that was the last time we saw Mike Nesmith with him. And yeah, it's I was really glad I got to see that. So thanks, Internet.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I seen it too. It's touching.
Is
And,
it? Okay.
and Mike, God, he was so good. He was
A week, about a week later, we were playing in, oh shoot, I should remember this. I think it was in Oklahoma. Pretty sure it was, in fact. I'm trying to remember. It might have been in Tulsa. Anyway, the Monkees had been there just 2 weeks prior to us playing. So about a week before I saw that broadcast, streamed on YouTube, I think it was. And I just thought, wow, I'm on the same stage tonight where those guys were just a couple of weeks ago. And he had a great band, and those songs stand up, they really do. They were good tunes.
That part of that Brill building, they had all those writers back then, and
Oh, yeah,
Neil Diamond, all these greats, but
yeah.
they were great too. Yeah,
Oh,
Mike Nesmith.
the Voice and Heart team that,
Oh,
that put together a lot of those Monkey songs and some of their own. I mean, Mike Nesmith, different drum. I think it's Different Drums Call. That's one of the best songs ever.
oh, I think he wrote the song for Linda Ronstadt, right?
He actually wrote it for the Monkees, and it was rejected for some reason. And Linda Ronstadt sang it, and we know that version, forever. But great lyrics to that song, great tune. And yeah, they wrote great stuff themselves.
And think about his mother also. She was the inventor of whiteout.
Yes.
We have a little. We're going back about without trivia.
You could use that on the E in my name at the beginning. Just
you're never gonna. I'll never get you back on the show now. See, I hope I do. I had my geek out. I was getting excited because I was at a place in Sherman, Studio City, and it was called the Oyster House, a little bar, and there was Davy Jones sitting there. But I didn't go up. I didn't go up to him because I wasn't playing a gig. I was just a guy, and I just stared like a little stalk, corner of my eye. But it was, I mean, one of the greatest. I got to geek out with you because I'm a big fan of the band, and the first time I heard of Ronnie Hawkins was from the band. When he came out in The Last Waltz, Martin Scorsese's movie. But you got to play with him, right? You were playing.
I did.
The late great Ronnie Hawkins. What was that like?
Happy to tell you. You're bringing up some great stuff here that I didn't think I'd get a chance to talk about much. So Ronnie Hawkins is a legendary he's an American, came from Little Rock, Arkansas, moved to Canada at the very end of the 50s, I think 59, maybe early 60. And he was the first authentic, let's call it that, voice of rock and roll that came to Toronto, to Canada. And the jazz clubs, I believe, were kind of transitioning toward, should we play some of this rock music? Sorry for all these dings.
It's okay.
Anyway, so Ronnie was the first, he had the American accent. He was vying for a contract with Sam Phillips, in Memphis. And it wound up going to a guy named, hang on, I remember it, Elvis Presley, that was it. And so Ronnie came to Canada and he put together a band, and that band was comprised of Levon Helm, Garth Hudson, and Richard Emanuel, and Rick Danko, and Robbie Robertson. And they were extremely popular. Of course, I was too young to get into clubs back then. I was just a wee boy. And but I knew the name right away. You'd see his name in the newspaper every day. Ronnie Hawkins and the Hawks at Le Coq d'Or. And so anyway, around 1966, I think it was 66 or early 67. I'm getting my dates mixed up. But one night, Bob Dylan came in and saw them play. And Bob Dylan went and met the band after the show, and he said to Ronnie and to the band, I'm going electric. I'm doing a tour in England. I'm going to start playing electric, and I need a band. And you guys want to join me? And so they said, adios, Ronnie, as they say in Canada, or see you later, right? And that was it. They went and became Bob Dylan's band, and then, of course, they became the band. But so roll the clock ahead. In 1984, after making the album Strange Animal at Ringo's home, I came home around July, and the CBS, Columbia Records, were very excited about the record. They really liked what they heard, and they thought, let's really put together a good promotion for this record, and we'll make a couple of really strong videos, because the songs would. Okay, well, that's going to take time, and my buddy of mine named Bob Schindel, sound engineer, very popular in Canada, probably the #1 sound engineer in the country. He was doing sound for Ronnie, and they needed a piano player. So he said, oh, my friend, Gowan, Gowan, he plays the piano. He plays the piano. I'm sorry, man.
That damn Gowan guy.
I'm sorry.
I'll never get Ann Wilson now. That's over.
By the way, Wilson.
I'm going to get your number. I'm going to text you. Hey, I got a guess. Can you spell it for me?
Anyway, so
ruin a good story for my viewers out there.
Okay, so yeah, I joined Ronnie's band, and the wonderful thing is I can go on that because I got a chance to play with Bo Diddley. I played, obviously with Ronnie, phenomenal musicians he's always had in his band. But in 1995, okay, so we're going 11 years beyond that. His 60th birthday in Toronto was at Massey Hall. That would be like the Carnegie Hall of Toronto. And his 60th birthday there, and he had Jerry Lee Lewis and Carl Perkins. These are guys that he knew back in his days in Arkansas. Wow. And the band, who were his band. And he had Jeff Healy join us on guitar, young Toronto lad. Yeah, there you go. There's a picture of it. Way to go. And, I was his alumni piano player. And by that time, I'd had quite a few hit records. And but I used to love, Ronnie loved if I did my Little Richard kind of moment in his shows. And so he kind of turns the stage over to me. And I did some Little Richard. I did one of my own, but I did my a Little Richard turn.
Did you? Yeah.
And you can look at it. It's called Let It Rock. Ronnie Hawkins, Let It Rock. It's on YouTube there. And, it went over great, but I'm playing on stage and this Carl Perkins and Jerry Lee Lewis and the band and, and Ronnie and it was
legends,
phenomenal night that I again, very blessed by the universe, I guess, to have all these lucky little things come dancing into my orbit.
Oh man, I mean, come on, those are icons that you just mentioned. People who wrote the Bible, rock and roll.
Yeah, they did. They absolutely did. And the one regret I have is I really wish I had the opportunity to meet Little Richard. And
you didn't get to meet him, huh?
No. And when we played he was living in Nashville toward the end of his time on Earth. They told me that where he was living. I lived in this nice new condo. It was right next to the Bridgestone Arena where we were playing. And I thought, God, at sound check even, they said, Little Richard is like, and I just thought, God, I'm a few feet away. I wonder if I could just luck into bumping into him. I had a great bump into one day with Elton John, another story. But anyway, I was hoping we could do that. And the time didn't work out. And I thought, well, I'll make more of an effort next time. And now he's gone. So seize the moment.
You seized them. I'll tell you. I'm gonna name drop right now. Gowan with an A. I'm gonna tell you. Listen, Gowan. I'll get you right now. Actually, you are great. Larry. You really are a great. Can I call you Larry or Lawrence? Well, I don't want to. What do you like? What do you like?
All the guys I used to play hockey with called me Larry.
Because Elvis would call you Larry, and I'm kind of like the Elvis of YouTube.
But Ronnie called me Sir Lawrence.
Did he really?
My family always called me Lawrence. It was when I played hockey that Larry came along. One day I was like 8 years old, and the coach is going through the room, and you had to say your name. He's going, the first guy, Bill, what's your name? Jimmy, what's your name? Bob, yeah, what's your name? John. Hey, nice to meet you, John. Who are you? And I went, Lawrence. He went, no, Lawrence isn't the hockey player's name. You're Larry. And he goes, so that kind of stuck for a long time. And then I put out an album in 1993 called, because I wanted to distance myself from the one name guy of the 80s. I put out an album called Lawrence Gowan, But You Can Call Me Larry.
That's great.
It is great. And quite honestly, the title,
It's great.
It wasn't my own title because we decided I should use my full name to kind of separate from the 1980s that suddenly had a bit of a stank to it in the early 90s after grunge and, the unplugged thing and all that. And I wanted to get onto something new. And my manager, Ray Daniels, who managed Rush for their whole career, in the same office as them for 14 years, I said, so if I use my full name, should it be Larry or Lawrence? He went, no, it's got to be Lawrence. He goes, but you can call me Larry. And he kind of walked out the door, and I went, what a great title. That is like the quintessential used car.
It's fantastic. Little Richard was on Hollywood Boulevard. I worked at a lingerie store when I moved to LA, and I was, wanted playing my music and all that stuff, which we told you last time a little about my life. So in a posse of these guys were walking. It was a P.O. box on Wilcox Hollywood Way. It was Little Richard, but he had a posse of guys, and he was handing out Bibles with his autograph already in it. And I got the Bible. I took it, but this was about 95, 96. Right. And I don't know what I did with it. And I'm such an idiot, but I got to meet him real quick. He handed it to me, and I got rid of it. Such an idiot I was, so, but he looked like Little Richard. He got the hair. He was all done up. Yeah, no one looked like Little Richard as much as Little Richard. I did see him live. Sorry, I should mention that. I saw him with Chuck Berry. We were playing in Michigan. Boy, I wish I could remember exactly where. You saw him with Chuck Berry around the Good Times Row around that time frame with that documentary. Maybe 2000, 2001, something like that. STYX were playing there the next night. They were there, so I got there a day early because we had a day off. I got there a day early to see that show, and Chuck Berry was on first, and nice to see him. But Little Richard came on. He had a horrendous cold, so he had a big box of Kleenex on top of the piano. And I had a great seat, and I was right up close. And, he's sneezing and wheezing, and he threw his whole spirit into that show with complete abandon, and he had that whole thing about, I'm going to be blowing my nose, and that's just the way it is. Wow. Just the way he was with the audience, you just loved him, So it was That's great. So cool. Great to see. I look at YouTubes of him often, and I only heard of him because of as a little kid that I heard Paul McCartney mention him in an interview, because he did, Long Tall Sally was on a Beatle record, and I thought, wow, Paul can morph his voice into all kinds of directions. I'm down, like just that whole. Yeah. I'm down was exactly that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So cool. I mean, you and I we could go down, I did get to see who it was his band. And as a keyboard player, you'll love this one, Johnny Johnson. Well, we played with Johnny Johnson. We made a record with Johnny Johnson. Yes, we did. STYX have a song called Hey, Mr. Johnson that's obviously dedicated to him. Around 2002 or 3, 2120 South Michigan in Chicago is the Blues Museum, Bluesology or whatever it's called. Oh, shoot. I should know that because Jackie Dixon runs it. Well, I don't know A from E, so you're allowed to foul. Okay, so Lily Dixon, all these great bands recorded there in the 50s, Muddy Waters. And anyway, that's why the Rolling Stones have an album called 2120 South Michigan. All the songs they loved so much, they were disciples of the blues, of that Chicago electric blues particularly. And so that's why they went and made, I think it was Aftermath, one of those. Oh, no, sorry. The album was called 2120 South Michigan. Sorry. So anyway, so we were invited there because JY, STYX, is a great contributor to that. And we met Coco Taylor and
Willie Dixon's son and daughter, and Jacqueline was there.
Yeah.
And they brought in Johnny Johnson, the piano player from Chuck Berry, who, by the way, Johnny B. Good is actually about. It wasn't actually a guitar in a gunny sack. It was a piano. But they changed the lyrics to kind of make it sound like it was a guitar player. Anyway, Johnny, getting to meet him, play next to him. We did a version of Blue Collar Man with Coco Taylor singing, and Johnny and I both playing piano bits. And then we wound up doing a song called Hey Mr. Johnson that's to him. And last time I saw him, we were playing in St. Louis, where we just played last week, the same venue at the River, it's now called the Hollywood Amphitheater. Anyway, they always change the names, but it was the Riverside. Anyway, 19,000 people. That's all I can tell you. It was a phenomenal night just a few nights ago. But he came out to the show there with his wife, and we spent a great evening with her. It's just great to have that as well. Add to the whole lexicon. So Johnny Johnson, the piano player of Chuck Berry.
Chess Studios. Was it Chess Studios? It wasn't Chess Studios?
Yeah. Well, hold on.
Is it the place where the Stones supposedly saw Muddy Waters?
Chess Studios. Yes, exactly. That's what it is. I was getting it mixed up with what's the one in Memphis again?
Sun.
Oh, I know it's Sun, but what's yeah, it's Chess, isn't it?
It's Chess Studio. That's where supposedly the Stones saw Muddy Waters painting and Brian
Jones. I'm just getting a little bit.
That's okay.
Muddy Waters flowing through my brain right now.
Yeah, I think it could have been Chess Studios, because that's where the Stones supposedly saw him painting, and they go, "Oh my God," But
1 second. Am I still on?
Yeah, you're here. You're perfect.
20 South Michigan. Okay, this is me typing.
I love it because we're stumping each other.
Chess Records. Of course it's Chess. What the hell's wrong with me? Yeah.
You know what? You see that, Gowan? I might know how to spell your name, but I know my studios. I got you.
Dude, I'm the dummy now.
Well, it's my show. I'll make anybody. No, you're actually, you're a fun guest, and you got to come on again. I got to have you come on again.
Sure. If I ever get out from under this railroad, this bridge that I'm living under.
I want to ask you before I let you go, because I know you got a show and we're on. I went way over time talking.
Yeah, you did.
I know.
Go ahead.
Did you do anything with John Sebastian from Love and Spoonful? Because I had him on the show. Lovely guy.
I don't know if you would remember, but yeah, because on that album we were just talking about Lawrence Gowan, but you can call me Larry. We recorded half of that record was recorded in Woodstock, New York, because Jerry Marotta, who's the producer of that album, lives there. And of course, if you're in Woodstock, so many musicians, the band were living there for quite a while.
Of course.
Rights to live on Helm. But, you'd see so many famous musicians walking down, going into the grocery store. And so we were recording there, and we had one day, because Robert Fripp played on one song because he was there, and he and Tony were working on a New Crimson thing, and I had a song that fit him. And then I had this other song that that John Sebastian was in the studio a few days before, and Jerry played it for him. Said, "Could you come in and play harmonica and a bit of acoustic?" So yeah, we spent a day in the studio together. The song was called "Last Laugh," and I could have spoken to him for a long time, but we had the job to do, and we only spent the one day together.
A beautiful guy.
Yeah,
a beautiful guy. I actually released a video interview with him here, but I got about 3 hours of interviewing, because he was going on and telling me about just the roots and the Bob Dylan living in the village. And
I knew I would lose the day if I started in
totally.
He's got so much. He's such an encyclopedia of all those things. But we really were focused on the song for that day, and he did a wonderful job.
And this is why, because you love the stories, the history. I mean, of the music. I mean, it's nothing like it. I mean, these stories are great, and that's why it's fun to reminisce with you. And You know what? You're a great guest, man. And everybody out there, I'm gonna let Mr. Gowan go. And if you guys are looking him up, don't Google E. Put an A. Replace that really quick. But I'll put the links down below with the right spelling, the right links. And man, I hope I get to catch you guys and see one of your shows when next time you play the Washington area. Maybe I'll take a trip. I like to see your criminal.
Yeah.
Like to see that on Strange Animal album that you're doing.
We just, it's too bad because just a few months ago we did the Mission in its entirety in Washington. It would have been great if you'd seen that show, but we will be back.
We'll be back
upon us.
Yeah, we'll be back, and I'll be following you, and then hopefully one day we could do an interview in person, and it'd be nice to shake your hand. You've been a lovely guest, and I appreciate your time coming back for a part 2 with me. But we'll have you come back more.
Put her there, pal.
You know what? You got it. That's right. And you know what I'll do for you, Knuckles? And since we're name dropping, I'll make sure I tell Eric Singer you say hello. All right?
Yes. I think his last name's spelled SWINGER, though.
Lawrence, you've been a lovely guest. I appreciate you. And everybody in the chat, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and give Larry an applause. And tonight you are playing. Let me put this up for everybody out there. Tonight, Riverbend Music Center. And he's going to be out there playing. There's a Ticketmaster.com link. Click on that. Check them out. STYX, REO Speedwagon, Loverboy. They're in your town.
Forward to seeing you somewhere up the road, man.
Thank you very much for coming on here. It was a pleasure talking to you. All right. Much love to you.
All right.
Spell your name right next time. Get out of here, Larry.
It's okay. Yeah.
All right, buddy. And thank you for hanging out with us. And let me see, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell to be reminded when we come on. That's right. And down below, I'll put the links. You'll see Lawrence and STYX. They're performing. Follow them and make sure, you subscribe to this channel. It's that time. Now, get out of here, you crazy kids. Bam. And for some more great episodes, make sure you click right over here. All righty? I'll see you later. Mwah.